San Onofre was the first full-scale civilian power plant in the United States to ever be operational. They started building it in 1968, and there were 3 nuclear power domes there. There are 2 that still remain. Each one has 4 nuclear reactors inside of it. These were decommissioned or taken offline in 2013 after one of them sprang a leak because Southern California Edison, the owners, had purchased defective nuclear equipment that was actually a part of their efforts to cost cut and make more money. They decided to shut the facility down. There was a huge financial scandal surrounding it because they wanted the ratepayers to pay for it, which was totally wrong. And then because they didn't have anywhere to put the nuclear waste that was created by this whole debacle, they decided to bury it on the beach, which unfortunately is one of the very few places they have to put it. It's 108 feet from the beach. It's in a tsunami inundation zone on top of an earthquake fault line. And our objective as Public Watchdogs is to compel them to store this nuclear waste in safer canisters, safer containers, further away from the beach on the facility. Legally, it's going to be almost impossible to move it away from San Onofre State Beach Park at this time, just given the way the laws are written right now. To move the nuclear waste within the site boundary is something that's eminently doable. It's obviously going to be expensive. It'd probably be a couple $2 billion, but it's permitted, it's been done, we know how to do it, and it's very much within the realm of possibility. When we think of nuclear reactors, we think of meltdowns as being the big risk, but I've come to think of the nuclear waste as being more of a risk because these reactors were really generated to create plutonium for nuclear bombs. We ended up using them for energy back in the 70s and 80s when we had an energy crisis. We built all these nuclear reactors, but also the energy was a really nice surplus byproduct. And now we're sitting with, just at San Onofre alone, there's 3.5 million pounds of this deadly, toxic nuclear waste with nowhere to go. And they're storing it in cans that are only guaranteed to last 25 years. The American government's only 245 years old. We don't know what the world's going to be like 100 years from now, much less 10,000, 20,000, or 200,000 years from now. So this issue of what we do with nuclear waste is really very, very important in how we solve this problem, and more importantly, how we store it in the short term, because the only thing we're seeing out of our government and policymakers right now are short-term solutions. They're literally kicking the Chernobyl can down the road. And some people have called these big, giant canisters of nuclear waste mobile Chernobyls, because that's what they are. Each canister contains more radioactive cesium than was released at the entire Chernobyl disaster into the atmosphere. And there's 73 of them buried in concrete silos on the beach at San Onofre State Beach Park.
Be as committed as you are over these years without having a deep spiritual connection to this work and what it means. Can you connect your spiritual work with this, with that of the Native Americans who have been there forever? And
in September of 2017, I was working on this, and I remember thinking we've done everything we can. We haven't got a prayer. I literally thought, we haven't got a prayer. And I was holding this piece of pipestone, the stone you make peace pipes from, in my hand. And I carved it into the shape of an eagle. And I looked at it and I thought, well, what if I prayed? You know, that's a novel idea. So probably for the first time in a couple of years, I actually prayed. And then something very unusual happened. About 30 seconds later, a woman named Michelle Anderson from a radio show called 1111 Awakening Code called me and said, I just met this amazing man named Chief Phil from the Dakota tribe. He lives in British Columbia right now, and he heard about what you're trying to do, and he wants to come down to San Onofre in a few days and do ceremony. 4 days later, Chief Phil flew down. He created this ritual where 30 dedicated activists kind of made a vow in front of that nuclear reactor, which wasn't very far away, to protect that beach. And the newspapers picked it up and kind of called it sacred activism. And then I have since really come to believe that there's tremendous power in group prayer and the harnessing of group intentions and group consciousness. So there have been many times when a lot of us have gotten together to pray and meditate, often on that beach, to focus on a viable, safe solution for the nuclear waste at San Onofre. So I don't think we'd have the resources which have been made available to us, which have been formidable, without the prayers of many, many people who have wished us well and have been hoping for a solution.